Hey, so this is sort of a sequel to my What is Grass video, so you may wanna go check that one out after this to get some context. And then their ship landed on Arau, never to fly again. And once the initial shock wore off, the people realized that they had basically no words to describe any of what they were seeing. Indeed, after 4,000 years of being stuck inside the fairly sterile rooms and hallways of their ship, their vocabulary had been reduced to almost nothing. Excluding the personal names of the 100 or so crew members, their language only really had about 300 words in total, and most of those referred to abstract concepts and emotions, so... Now, normally, when something like this happens, there is a native population that can be asked for loanwords, but not in Arau. Yes, Arau had been terraformed some 10 million years prior, and people occasionally dropped by to visit, but nobody had actually lived there in ages. So they would get no loanwords. Luckily, though, there were a few cases where they could simply take a word they already had and use it for something else, like Arau itself. Arau, which literally means everything, was how they referred to their ship back when that was all they knew, so naturally, once the planet became their new everything, they just started calling it Arau too. Likewise, they also took the word calder, which referred to their ship's singular pool, and started using it to refer to any body of water they encountered. A small puddle, calder, a lake, also a calder, the entire ocean, well of course that's a calder too. And then there were also some uses of this technique in ways that we would find a bit weirder. For example, when they first discovered trees, they decided that wood looked close enough to bone to use the same word for both. Likewise, they called all animals that didn't look like parakeets herba, which was their word for robots. But not every new thing could be named so easily. For example, it was important to be able to distinguish between different types of plant, and so grass became tall moss and bushes big moss. Similarly, they also started differentiating between the ceilings of their homes, bog, and the great ceiling, the sky, bokang. And when they discovered space was a thing, they started referring to it as the overceiling, bog. And then, lastly, there were also the cases where they had to get a little more creative, let's just say. Things like stone, for example. Indeed, their entire ship was made out of metal and various synthetic materials, so stone was a concept completely alien to them. It was distinct enough from metal to be given its own word, and it didn't look like bone or wood either, so eventually the crew settled on the phrase neither metal nor bone had thing, or dang tubbe dang klere ha klong in their language. On a similar note, they also had some difficulty coming up with a way to refer to the wind, as their living quarters were so tiny and compartmentalized that there was none back on the ship. Thus the phrase Voices of the Invisible Ones was created, or Dakinaperest, a sentence which made perfect sense to them, as they thought, and indeed still think, that the wind is both alive and sentient. Though, of course, as time went on, many of these more cumbersome compounds became significantly simplified or outright replaced. After all, having to say dang tuppe, dang klere, ha klong every time you have to talk about rocks gets real tedious real fast. But hey, having a lot of convoluted phrases and metaphors to talk about stuff is still better than having no way to talk about said stuff at all. And yes, the world around them still felt rather strange and oftentimes scary, but at least they could now put those feelings into concrete words that could be understood by others.